Welcome to the Real People, Real Business Show, where we're talking with business owners who are in the trenches, everyday people who are working hard and have relevant and inspiring stories that you can relate to. Everyone we speak to is actively building and growing their business and is here to share their experiences, lessons, wisdom, and guidance so you can be inspired to take action towards your own goals. Today, I am so excited to welcome Meera Kothand. Meera is a decorated email marketing specialist, blogger, and 3 times Amazon bestselling author. She works to help entrepreneurs confidently enter the digital space of email marketing, product launching, and blog development. Welcome to the show, Meera. Thanks so much for taking your time to share your story today with us.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
It's so funny. I ended up on your mailing list, I don't even know, like years ago. And I've been actually following you for all that time. And then your name came up and I was like, no way, that is crazy.
Yeah, actually, really small world when you think about it. Sometimes the connections we have and people we meet. So
I know.
it's
And
good to know.
you're on the other side of the world over in Singapore.
So yes, I am. Yes, I am.
We have this global connection, which I think is really awesome.
Yeah.
So listen, let's start from the beginning. How did you end up where you are now? Tell me your story.
Yeah, it was almost by accident because, and this is something that I've shared in lots of different places. I am kind of like the last person who should have ever become an entrepreneur or even started on this journey because of my background, the family I'm in, the kind way I was brought up. We were never told to like venture forth and start your own business. It was always, go to college, get a job after that. So that was actually my path. And I was doing marketing. I was doing a little bit of international relations. I had my daughter and I took a little break. And I was intending to go back to work, but I had a health scare. And as I was getting that sorted out, I realized, I'm not going to be able to go back for some time. And every time I had that start date show up, I had something to take care of. And it just kept getting postponed month after month. And I thought, it's something's not working. It's just not aligning for me. And so when I was at home, it was my husband that kind of encouraged me to, why don't you just do something, write or explore something? Because writing has always been my passion. Is just always been a part of what I've been doing on the side and stuff like that. So I did a little bit of freelance writing. I was doing that. And then I was just really intrigued into starting a blog. And I wanted to kind of scratch that itch. Can I really grow an audience with my words? And it really just started with a blog and that exploring into what my audience is looking for, what are they struggling with, and things just kind of grew from there.
And so today, how are you making money online?
So primarily everything right now, my business model is around my books on Amazon and then all of my digital courses and my programs. So I don't really do client work anymore. I used to do that very early on in my business. But right now really it's my membership, my courses, my books on Amazon. Yeah, that's really everything in my business model.
So we kind of skipped through the whole how you got there part. So there was this incentive for you to get a little bit of freedom from the corporate grind. And where a lot of people start for various different reasons, whether it's health reasons, whether it's I had children, or sometimes I'm caring for my aging parents or something like that. And so you had the incentive, you tried it out, you figured out, what was that first point where you were like, actually, this could maybe work?
That's interesting because I never really saw it as an incentive. It was always like I have to do something else because I'm at home. So I never really saw it as, oh, I get to start my own thing. That was the idea. My initial goal was to just make back my full-time income. And I would be thrilled if I could do that. Because it made sense. Okay, I was spending this money just to kind of set up all of this stuff because, you can be really scrappy and try to save whatever you can, but you still need to pay for your email service provider and hosting and all of that. So my first goal was really to make it back. And I think one of the things that I figured out early on was I knew what they would say that my zone of genius was, and I wanted to stick with that. So I enjoyed working with clients one-on-one, but I kind of figured out very early on that that was not the direction that I wanted to go in. So I didn't do too much client work even back in the day. I really dived right into the books and the courses. And when I launched my first book back in 2017, it was I had a lot of people writing in and saying, are you crazy to be doing this on Amazon? Why that 299 or 399 book when you could be doing that very same topic and publishing it as a course? Why would you do this? So and I think at that point the people didn't really, I mean, even today, they couldn't just get around the idea of why would you go in this direction and why not do a course? Because courses are such a big thing. Everyone is talking about them. You have to have them. I mean, even till today. But I wanted to try something different and leverage Amazon's platform and do it in that way. And writing was something, like I said, was my passion. And it was something that I enjoyed doing. And I feel it was my zone of genius. And I think the moment I felt that, okay, this could work was when I made that first thousand, actually. It kind of validated, okay, I'm doing this right. And then after that, obviously, the next milestone and so on.
Yeah. And so what have you done to kind of quote unquote grow, right? You got to that place where you thought, you know what, this could actually work. And then what? Then what did you invest in?
So for me, the basic thing was always about nurturing relationships. So email was something that I did right, I feel, very early on. And I'm very thankful that I had the sense to do it very early on and do it right. Having like a solid nurture sequence from day one. So then this is something that I share time and time again to anyone who would ask me. They always think that, okay, I should wait to grow a list. Maybe, let me wait for like 500 or 1,000 people before I send something out or before I have a nurture sequence. But for me, I had that from day one. And it forces you to kind of show up and put your message out there even before you feel ready. And I think that was one of the things that I'm kind of thankful that I had the courage to do that, because it was so scary sending those first few emails. And I still remember how scary it was to send it out, but I stuck with it. So the nurturing relationships has been kind of like the bedrock of how I grew, I would say, because I didn't have a big budget for ads. And I didn't take on ads for I only started doing it a very good amount of time into my business, like 1 or 2 years in was when I started playing with ads. So I had to rely on growing that audience organically. And this means sticking with certain traffic platforms, like being on Pinterest, sticking with it, being consistent with email. And I did a lot of things to kind of get visible, like guest posting or any kind of opportunity to do a podcast. Like these were things that I would say are kind of like old school marketing, but they still work. So I didn't really go for those fancy tools or like complicated funnels and all of that stuff. It was really basic things, solid nurture sequence, focus on building a relationship, focus on getting visible, and yeah, things along those lines.
So when you first started out, what were you writing about and what were you teaching people?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I figured out early on was what conversations did I want to be a part of? Because there are so many different conversations going on in your space, and even if you haven't really figured out, okay, I want to be known for this, or I'm going to create a course or a membership on this. Even if you don't have any of that figured out, which most of us don't when we start out, we need to know what are the conversations we want to be a part of, and where do we actually kind of want to have put a little dent or have that little stake. That is something that I figured out very early on. And back in corporate, I was doing marketing and I always had this interest in branding and I was doing international relations and all of that. So I thought, okay, why not do digital marketing? And it's something that I was passionate about. I was dabbling a little bit of that back in corporate. So that was my direction. What exactly within this bigger umbrella, it took me some time to figure out. So it took me that a little bit of time to figure out, okay, I wanted to dive into email. This is going to be like my main thing, or content or digital products. It didn't come early on. It kind of took following all of those. It's kind of like following those crumbs along the way and figuring out what people were talking about, where I felt I could fill in a gap that others were not really addressing. So in the early days, a lot of my content was a little bit more general around my perspectives, thoughts, things that I felt maybe were not really, maybe that could be a different perspective, a different way to address this. But everything was around this umbrella of digital marketing. And but I try to kind of zone in real quick after I figured out, all right, I think I have a gap here that I can fill or I can address. And then my content started getting a lot more specific.
And so you have focused on email marketing.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
And some blogging and kind of list building.
That's right.
That sort of thing. And then you decided, when did you decide that you were going to build a course or write a book?
I think when people actually started asking me whether I had anything else to offer them, because what I was sending them was like just content. And so once I decided, okay, let me kind of see how people felt about what I had to share about email. And I had this dedicated sequence where anyone who signed up for any one of my freebies or incentives on email would get this dedicated nudge sequence. And I had nothing for sale at that time. And I was I still had a lot of resistance around having a tripwire, the tiny product. So I didn't have that in place as yet, but I started getting lots of responses. Do you have like a course where I could take where you kind of dive into this a little bit deeper? So that was kind of like my first validation to, all right, maybe I should think about putting something out there. But I do feel that I still created that first course on email marketing a bit too early. And I always share that I feel I could have created that tiny product first, then go in and create that huge, big course, because it was, I don't know, the experience even today, even thinking back, when you have not created a product before, you are still figuring out the tech and video and all of that. To put together an enormous course is not easy. I feel that if you want something to kind of boost your confidence and give you that quick win, and you want your audience to not have this huge paywall where they can experience your paid content, I think like a tiny product is like the quickest way to get over that resistance or anything that you're feeling. And I should have gone down that route, but yeah, I chose to do the big course because I bought into the narrative that was out there in the online space, and it still is today. I mean, it's doing well, but I felt that I would have grown a lot faster if I had done it the other way around.
That's super interesting. Yeah, I like that. I like that approach, and it's one that kind of got my attention a couple of years ago, and I ended up as part of a program which was all about creating these kind of tiny offers. And I love the idea of that. And it's actually something I'd love to hear your opinion on, this idea of creating almost a paid entry into your kind of world, as opposed to the constant push for free content, free content, free content, free this, free that, free this, free that. And that being the doorway in. So I have opinions on this, but I'd love to hear what you think. Like, is this a world where we're almost creating too much free stuff and creating the expectation that is how you start your experience with me?
I think I agree to a sense that there is too much free content, and that said, I do feel that there are people who need to get a sense of what you are about, what your brand is about. And their doorway to your world in that sense is through that free content.
Mm-hmm.
So if you completely eradicate that and you're only going to have those tiny offers, you might be alienating a big portion of people. So I'm not, I kind of get that where where that is coming from, that you should just the first thing should be that tiny product. But I don't know, for me, I think it's a little bit too drastic in a sense to completely cut out the incentive. But what I think you should do is be a lot more intentional with the incentives that you're offering, with the free incentives. So what I feel is, and this is something that I've experienced and I've seen within my own business, is when you have things like masterclasses, or when you have things like a free kind of like a dripped out course, the kind of people that you attract are a lot more engaged than people who are going to be signing up for like cheat sheets or something like that, or something of that sort. And again, you also don't want to offer freebies that have nothing to do with your business. Just because they are hot, or just because everyone seems to want them, like maybe social media templates or anything of that sort. If they have nothing to do with your business, you don't see yourself venturing into that area at all, why would you want to offer that? Just because it seems to build your list a lot faster. I mean, yes, it might build your list a lot faster, but it's going to be very hard for you to turn those people into clients, into people who want to do business with you. So what I have kind of taken a more, how do you put it, maybe a little bit more of a balanced approach, in that, yes, you do have those free incentives, but I also give them an opportunity to buy into my paid content via a tiny offer very quickly. So I make sure that every entry point that I have into my world, in that sense, has that invitation for them to get a taste of my paid content. And I do that very early on. So like that's completely up to them to take that or not. And now most people find me from Amazon. And that is how they end up within my brand ecosystem. So my books on Amazon are not free. And some people, they do choose to offer their books on Amazon for free. But for me, all of my books out there, it's, yeah, they're not a lot, but it's still something that's paid, that you need to get in, you need to pay, and then for you to get into my world in that sense. So yeah, a few different perspectives. And I feel I haven't really landed on, you should absolutely not do this, or you should absolutely not do that. I feel it can take more of like a balanced approach.
Yeah, and I think it really depends on your audience. Like my audience isn't prone, or isn't, the type of audience that would sign up for, endless free downloads and that sort of thing. They just don't have
Yeah.
the time, right? And I think they would be much more inclined to watch a video or buy a little course, because
Yeah.
it's targeted and focused and is going to get them the information that they need as quickly as possible. So really, I guess it really depends on who you're serving and what they need and what they want. And I certainly don't advocate for not writing and making that free
Yeah.
content, but I know the experience that I had this year was I wanted to take one last real kick at the can in over delivering and creating a whole bunch of really great free content before I really decided that that wasn't the direction I was going to go in anymore. And it sort of validated it, right? Like I put a lot of effort in and tons of hours into creating this free content, and it resulted in very little for me. Like it didn't move the needle much. And what it really created was a whole bunch of people that wanted more free content. So, and it was, it wasn't where it was, my time is worth a lot of money. And to continue to set the expectation, I was just training my audience to in the wrong way. So I think
Yeah.
there are a lot of factors that sort of fall into what's right in terms of free content and what's right for you. And I think
That's right.
it sounds like you've kind of found that right balance. One of the things that you said that I really love is that, this is what I talk to my clients a lot about, is that one of the key success factors in your marketing is consistency, right? So a lot of people will start, they won't get the results that they want right away, and then they just kind of get frustrated and give up. So what would you say to those people?
And it's really sad because sometimes I feel they are so close. Like just with sticking with anything, for whether it's email or any kind of traffic platform, like whether it's Pinterest or Instagram. And I feel that they would just drop it exactly when they could have seen some kind of growth, like that 6 month or that 5 month mark. And that's when people get frustrated and then they drop off. So yeah, I mean, I think it's really about, and it's always about, okay, what is that next thing? This is not working, and maybe move on. I think people need to kind of get around the idea that it's really it's kind of like the long game, and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. But and a part of me doesn't want to blame them. I kind of blame all of the conversations that are going on. It's just a narrative that we all kind of are led to believe from the time that we have this idea, okay, I'm going to try this. And then we're really bombarded by all of these different messages that it's easy, it should be quick. And the people who are spewing this are people who are really established, and they probably started this, what, 15, 20 years back, something of that sort. So what is true to them and is not true to someone who is just starting out, or what might have been true then for them is not the same right now. And it's really sad. There's no validation for a lot of people who are beginning out and feel that, I don't think it's supposed to be this hard, because everyone seems to be making it look like it's easy. So I always make it a point to keep saying that it is tough, and there is a steep learning curve. So it's not just you, it's everyone else. It's just that you don't hear it often enough, and you need to have patience. And like for me, Pinterest was one of those things where when I started and then I abandoned it 3 months in, and I was kicking myself for doing that, because I was really getting really frustrated. And the third or fourth month in, I was like, no, I'm gonna get out of there. And then I went back in like 2 months back, and then after that, that was when I actually started to see things actually move, and Pinterest actually kind of pay me back for the time that I was putting in. So it's really learning to stick with it, I think. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you say that, because it's just, my one-on-one clients tend to be much further along. They're already running, established businesses that are, and it's a different conversation then. That is where we start to have the same conversations that those kind of established people are teaching to newbies, right? And it's apples and oranges. It's really different type of environment. You can't apply those same tactics and metrics and expectations. There's all this talk about just go and launch your thing, but if you haven't built an audience yet, you're just going to be frustrated because you have no one to sell to. So that I'm a huge advocate for, and all my clients will know this, for slow business and slowing ourselves down. And I run a 6-month group program, and most people are like, what, 6 months? I want to do everything really much faster. I'm like, you can't. It's not real. It's not real. And like, I want to give everyone permission to just slow down and recognize that if you're judging yourself based on, the expectations and results of big established entrepreneurs, you're going to be really disappointed, and you're going to constantly be asking what's wrong. This stuff takes time. Are there ways that you can fast track it a little bit? Sure. And I would argue that most of that is happening in sort of the visibility space, as opposed to, content marketing. The content marketing is slow, steady, consistent. And I think that's one of the things that people need to hear more about. And it sounds like that's something that you talk about a lot.
Yeah, I actually love the phrase that you just said, like building like a slow business. Yeah, I love that. And I think people don't speak about it enough. And another thing that you said, it's really, you need to pair strategies with your stage of growth. And there's so much of mismatch happening in that. Things that you're supposed to be doing way later on, you're doing it like right now. So and it's kind of like building, and then your foundation is just not there. And yeah, that's typically just what I see happening. And it's pretty sad, because it's people who are hardworking and they want things to go fast, but they don't realize that they're actually causing themselves a lot more harm in the process.
So who are you speaking? Who's your audience? Who are your customers?
So for me, it's small businesses, solopreneurs. Typically, I take them from sub-zero. Most people are just kind of starting out and then getting them to that first milestone of making a full-time income with the online business. And then the next milestone is to get to that 80K or 100K a year mark. So yeah, that's typically the majority of my audience. Most people kind of find me at that along the way, but before that midsection. Yeah.
What kind of businesses are they building?
I would say typically most of them are coaches. Okay. And I get a lot of coaches. I do get people who are wanting to supplement their coaching income with digital products as well. So a lot of people who come and find me are those who are really wanting to venture into books, wanting to venture into creating courses and tiny products.
Yeah. Okay. And they have the option of buying one of your digital products, or you said you've built a membership as well.
That's right. Yeah. So membership is something that I did pretty recently. I was really resisting the membership for a very long time. And I think it's been 2 years right now. So there's a membership, and but right now it's quite funny the way most people find me. Previously it was used to be on Pinterest, but right now most people find me from Amazon, and that's how they get introduced to my work and then get into like my brand ecosystem.
So tell me about that. That's interesting. So Amazon almost as a marketing channel, right? So we all know Amazon as like this global superstore of buying everything. And it started out as books and from like this literary perspective. So tell me a little bit more about how Amazon is a different channel for you, and why it's a channel that some of these bloggers or business builders might consider utilizing.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wanted to go into Amazon to create a kind of like separate revenue stream from self-publishing. Yeah. So something that was independent from my site. That was my intention with Amazon, but there are people who utilize Amazon for lots of different reasons, and there's no like one right or wrong answer. So there are people who use Amazon, they want to self-publish a book or they want to get something out there to have it as kind of like a credibility factor. So they want to be able to go to networking events and then hand out their published books, or they want to be able to tell their clients, before you work with me, go and have a read of this, and then you can get a clear sense of whether you want to work with me or not. So they want to have that first layer there. Some people use books on Amazon as a lead generation tool. So they have it free, and then they get people to sign up for like bonuses and stuff like that. So there are a few different reasons. And obviously the other one is to just generate an income from the sale of your books, which is kind of my intention with using Amazon. So anyone, people typically, when they see my books and then they ask me, do you think I should do this? My first question is, what exactly is your intention with it? What is your goal with wanting to do this? Because depending on your goal, the way you approach self-publishing would be different. So if you're just using it as a way to build authority or a way to just amp up on your credibility, then it's a little bit different. But if you really want to make money out of it, it's different as well. Because you can't just publish it and then just let it be there. You can if you're just using it for authority, but if you want it to sell on a daily basis, then there are other things you need to do. You really need to invest in the package of that book in terms of like the cover and the formatting and the editing as well. So these are things that you really need to take note of. You would also need to think about, all right, how am I going to keep getting visibility? Am I going to promote this on book promotion sites? Am I going to run Amazon ads? So a lot of factors that go into this. And if you really want to continuously sell your books on Amazon, you also need to kind of play by the rules of Amazon. So you need to have your keywords done, you need to have your description, and all of that stuff. And Amazon has its own little quirks in terms of how many kind of categories can you publish your book on, and all of these things that you need to get familiarized with. So yeah, I would say it's a really good way to get your name out there. It's really good if you want to build authority, you want to be known for this topic. And I've seen a couple of people in my audience use that as a way to get more clients. So yes, it's a very credible channel, but do it with the right intentions. So don't go into it thinking, all right, I'm going to use self-publishing and make more money. But then you publish a book and you realize that I'm getting cents, or I'm getting like $2 a month or $3 a month. And this has happened to people before. That's because, the work is not done right, or you've not packaged your book right. Because there's a lot of work that goes into a book before it even hits the shelves, the digital shelves. So yeah, so do it, yes, but think about what exactly is your goal for doing that.
I have a long-term client who is in the publishing space, and she works with clients who are self-publishing. So this is all very familiar to me, but seeing the back end of her business and how much goes into publishing a book, and all of the different, I think a lot of people come to her thinking it's like a really straightforward process, but there's actually there are all these moving parts. So super interesting to hear you say that. So I'm curious, you've built this membership, and what is the membership focused on? And I'm also curious what the impetus was for you to go and create a membership. One of the clients I work with, this is what we've built is this huge membership, and it is not without its work. It's a lot of, it's a much more involved and challenging business model than just selling a digital product, because that's what she did before. So tell me a little bit more about your experience in creating that.
I love that question. No one has asked me that before as to why I created a membership. My main reason was because there were lots of topics that I wanted to share with my audience, but I didn't necessarily want to create a course. I didn't necessarily want to create content about it that was on my site, because I knew that if I shared lots of content from lots of different categories, I was going to attract people. And for instance, like Facebook ads, or maybe, like self-publishing, or creating a membership for the, just teaching along those lines. There were lots of things I wanted to share, but I didn't necessarily want to do it in a format of a course. I didn't, because, marketing a course itself, it's so much of work, and you need to be able to stick with that offer. You can't just launch it once and then think that, all right, it's just going to be selling forever. Yes, you can put it on evergreen, but for you to build awareness, it takes time. For you to market that, you need to create content, you need to create freebies or blog posts or videos and all of that. And I felt that I didn't want to do that, especially for topics that I don't necessarily want to be known for. But at the same time, I had a lot of people asking me questions about these different topics. And they valued my opinion when it came to those topics, because obviously I've dealt with Facebook ads, or obviously I've had to brand my books, or brand my site, or know how to conceptualize what my brand is about. So they wanted my take on all of these things, and they wanted my opinion. And there wasn't anything that I had there to offer, and I didn't want to do it in terms of a course or something of that sort. That was my whole point. That was my whole intention with creating a membership. It was a place where the people bought into my perspectives, because it's very driven, that the type of content that I share and the way that I share it is very driven by what I kind of believe in, like in minimum viable. So for me, this is something that I always stress within my membership, is we speak a lot about minimum viable products, but you can do things in a way that, even though you're time strapped, you can do things in a way that is nothing more, nothing less, just right, and still get that impact, even if you're time strapped. So it's really built around my thinking and in my framework, where I don't really emphasize a lot on social media. And I feel that you don't have to do ads if you don't want to. So the people who are in the membership, they know that, all right, they would only be in if they bought into my perspective, at least a little bit. And yeah, that was my intention, was to be able to talk about all of these topics, but give it my own spin and why I approach things in a certain way. And yes, it's a very, very challenging model. It is, I would say it's easier to sell a course than to actually kind of retain your members. And this is something that people don't really realize. And they think that, yeah, this is my first digital product, I'm going to create a huge, massive membership. I'm like, no, don't do that. It's hard.
Oh my gosh, don't even consider membership until you're a few years in, right? And until
exactly.
Until you've built the audience and the following. So here's something I'm going to throw at you, and I love this. Minimum viable product is, for recovered perfectionists like me, is easy, right? Like I am known for just like throwing stuff out there, because the minute it gets out there is the minute I start getting good information about it, right? But 98% of my audience are stuck in perfectionism. So the minimum viable product is it's a thing that never happens. It's a really scary thing for them, because it's there's this fear of judgment, and like, it's not perfect, it's not whatever. So I'm sure, positive, that you've had this experience and that you have heard this from a lot of your audience members too. So talk to me about how this perfectionist tendency plays out with the concept of minimum viable products.
Yeah, I've had so many people get stuck in that, and they think that they need to have all of these branded videos. And when they're not comfortable with video, they feel that they need to do like facing the camera and then speaking out the content. And like for me, even today, I still have my slides. I don't necessarily want to show my face. I will not do it. For me, the main thing is to get it out there. That is my priority, rather than to have all of these beautiful branded videos, beautifully edited, have that music intro and all of that stuff. So what I've seen is, I can say it time and again, that just put it out there. Don't bother, but all of this is not important. The tools don't really matter. You just need the really basic things to get it out there. But I would say maybe just 10% or 20% of who I share it with actually are able to do it. A lot of people aren't. And it's quite sad, because there are people who have been with me for a very long time, and every now and then they would pop into my inbox just to kind of share an update, and they would still be stuck. And I think it's more of like an internal thing that you need to work through. Someone like anyone, like a coach or anyone for that matter, you can say it, you can emphasize it, you can encourage, but I think you need to do the work internally for you to move past that perfectionism.
Most of the coaching that I end up doing is around getting past those mindset blocks, right? Even though I am a strategist, I am a business coach, we talk about business stuff, but they get and they can understand the tactics, and they love the tactics. They'll take the tactics all day long. But when we get to the conversation around why the tactics aren't happening, it's always the fear, it's always the judgment, and for some people it is absolutely crippling. And so when we hear about all these people who are not following through, or who not doing the work, they're not doing the work not because they're lazy, but because they are crippled with fear of what someone is going to think of them if they put it out there. And the difference between, I use this example of, there's someone in our space who's who I really love. They teach about funnels, they teach about digital marketing. And I bought a course from her, or some like kind of course training thing from her. I think I paid $150 for it or something like that. It was literally her sitting there at her computer, like in a t-shirt, and just kind of Like she woke up one day and she was like, I'm just going to teach you something. And she taught it. It was all super valuable. And in the middle of it, the Amazon guy arrives. She's like, hold on a second. She's like talking to the Amazon guy. And then she comes back and she keeps going. It was still worth it for me. Like I got lots out of it. And I didn't care. I didn't care that she was talking to the Amazon guy. I kind of like made it better. So there was no production value. There was lots of good information. And I think what people get stuck on is like this idea that it has to be up to the standards of the people who have been doing this for a long time. And that there are diminishing returns, right? Whether your video is really pretty or not doesn't matter that much to the people who just want the information. Like if I die having helped people understand that, I will be happy.
But it's so true, and I feel that actually it's kind of like a mask in a sense. It's like you're hiding behind, and I've had people say this, I need to make it look good for them. This is like the exact sentence that someone said to me. I need to make it look good for them, and I feel that it's just a kind of like a veil for the fear and not wanting to go live with it. So for me, it's really all about emphasizing that be as scrappy as you can. You don't need. Obviously you want to deliver a good experience, but lots of other ways to deliver a good experience. Make sure they get their welcome email. Make sure if you want to do an onboarding sequence for them, go ahead and do that. It's the tiny little things that people notice. And like you said, they're not going to care that you took a pause or you're not wearing makeup or anything of that sort when you're delivering that video. It's really about value for the matter.
In fact, I've gone to the extent of tasking my clients with going and creating the crappiest thing that they can create and putting it out there. And then, the reality is that people aren't sitting around at their computers waiting for you to do something, waiting to watch. Oh, there it is, and judge it. Like the digital marketing police. We have to fight so hard just to get people's attention.
True.
That if you put something out there and you don't tell them, nobody's going to know, right? And so we think everyone's sitting there like staring at what we've created and judging it, but it's a miracle if it even gets in front of them. And I also love that you have said that social media is not a focus. Same over here, right? Like all of my clients are like, oh God, I've got to do all of the Instagram strategy.
What do I post?
Engage, and I hate it. And it's so draining because I coach a lot of introverts. I'm not an introvert and I hate it. Like, it's just not my thing. And it's just not, and I've done everything consistently and like according to the rules and stuff. And it didn't really move the needle that much either. And I gave it up. I'll write if I want to, sometimes I'll post and if I'm inspired to write something or if there's a thought that I have, but it hasn't changed anything for me. And so, these shoulds, to me, should means I wish I didn't have to. So how are you helping your clients figure out what works for them?
I think a lot of what, you can share whatever, like, and they are surprised in a sense that I had someone ask me, I noticed you don't do much on social media. You're not really like on Instagram a lot. I said, because I don't see those returns. I really don't. And the only reason, like this year, I decided, okay, I'm going to just have the little bit of presence on Instagram was because I was missing out on a lot of people tagging me with pictures of working through my books on Amazon and stuff like that. And because I was not there, I was not getting any of these tags or mentions. And I felt a little bit sad that I was not engaging with my audience there. So that was the only reason I even got on Instagram this year. But beyond this, because this is, I think, my 6th year in business, I was not there at all, or anywhere for that matter. The only place I was consistent on was Pinterest. And that's because I was using it as my traffic platform. So to get people back. Pinterest is not really a social media, it doesn't work in that way.
A search engine.
So,
right?
Sorry? It's a search engine. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is the thing. I mean, I feel that you can share, and they are kind of amazed. And people say that, yeah, the reason I actually got on your list and joined the membership was because you said that, you don't have to do social. But there's still all of that conflict internally that, yeah, but this person is doing this and that person is doing this. Wouldn't I lose out? I think most people have a lot of internal struggle with um, in knowing deep down, okay, maybe I should just stick and stay with my along this, but they get attracted to shiny objects along the way. And it's always that hassle and this thing of going away and then coming back and then going away and then coming back. And yeah, so it's really going back to the 10 or 20% of people who are able to just stick on their path, and then they are the ones who actually see a lot of results. It's really kind of like putting covers, on both ends. Like, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to take that course because it does not align with my current stage of growth. I'm not going to do that because I don't need that right now. It's not part of my goals for this quarter. And just really stay focused. And it's hard. And I get that because there's so much noise out there.
Yeah. And how has this whole industry changed for you over the last kind of 6 years since you first started out?
I feel the depth of the conversation has changed. The audience has changed in a sense that I feel they're a lot more aware compared to when I started out. I mean, just taking the topic of email. I mean, obviously, the common topics, the common questions, they always come out. But I feel that people are a lot more aware. There are things that they didn't even think about back then, like a welcome email series or a nurture sequence. But now there is that, okay, yeah, there is this thing, and I do need to be doing that. They may not necessarily know how to do it, but I feel that they have kind of progressed in that sense along that customer journey. So I feel, at least in the niche that I'm in, the conversations that I'm a part of, there has been that audience who is now a lot more aware. In terms of the industry, I would say it's, I mean, yeah, there have been some shifts, but the narrative on hasn't changed very much in terms of the huge premium courses, charge premium rates all the time, have a membership. I feel it's always these same things that are out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a diploma in internet marketing from 1998.
Wow.
It was the first class, it was the first program being offered at the university in internet marketing. And I had just finished my undergraduate degree, and I was like, sweet, internet marketing. I was like really excited by the internet, and like it was just starting to, yeah, God, I feel old, but it was just starting to kind of get some traction, and it was really exciting to me. It was really interesting to me. So I'm like, I'm going to go and do this like $10,000 program on internet marketing because it's from the university, it's accredited. Honestly, Meera, not a lot has changed. We have better tools, we have more people to talk to, we have lots more insight and that sort of thing. But foundationally, the concepts have not changed. Right? We still are trying to create emotional relationships with the people that are listening to us. And at the end of the day, that is foundationally everything that every piece of marketing that we do is trying to accomplish. Right? So the industry, the industry has evolved for sure. And then for you in your own business, like what's next for you? Where do you see yourself going now?
Yeah, so for me, I am not quick. I'm not the early adopter. So I'm not someone who's always looking for the next thing. I am really about optimizing what I have right now and wanting to deliver a better experience and seeing how I can do that. And within the channels that I have, how is it that I can attract more people? So I would say like my focus is to really kind of hone in on the areas that I have that are evergreen in my business and see how I can better optimize them, and in attracting an audience, in delivering content to that audience, being able to convert that audience, get them to join my membership or my course or whatever that is. So yeah, really kind of just optimizing and seeing how I can scale up what I already have rather than like a new direction. So for me, the new direction was back in like 2018 when I was really kind of going into Amazon and it was like trying something different. But right now, no, that's not really kind of part of like my plan.
And I love to
Yeah.
hear that. I mean, like, again, it's breaking down all the things that we're hearing all the time that there always has to be something. And I see these poor business owners who are just like under this yoke, under this like yoke, this burden of I should be doing something new. I
Yeah.
should be always trying something new. And I remember coaching one of my clients over like 9 months. And then at the end of it, she was like, okay, what do I do next? I said, nothing. You've built this
It's
business
a
that
good
was
answer.
exactly aligned with what you wanted. So don't do anything. Like stop this pressure on yourself. You what you want is to relax. So relax. Everything's in place. Everything is exactly how you
Spot
want it
on.
to be. Just relax, right? So can we stop this urgency,
Yeah.
this like rat race? So that's a really good segue into the question I ask everybody. This is about being real and about real business and real people. What is the biggest difference between what's real and what we hear all the time out on the internet, out in the business, the online business industry?
Wow. I think there's so many I can pick out on. Um, I think a lot of it that we've spoken about, that it is hard, it takes time. One of the things is growing your list. There isn't some fancy secret strategy that is out there. And I think people package it in a way that they think that there is some super secret list building strategy, but everything that is out there, whether you want to create a quiz to attract people or a lead magnet or a course or a webinar, whatever it is all the same strategies. It really depends on what fits best with your business model.
And with
And
you, right? And with who you
yeah,
are as a person.
exactly. Yeah, correct. And if you are afraid or terrified to get on video, I mean, by all means, push yourself, but don't let that fear stop you from putting something out there. Like for me, I was terrified of doing video when I started out, but I didn't want that to derail me in that sense. I didn't want that to kind of stop me from moving forward. So I stuck with my zone of genius for some time till I put, I kind of just practice and put myself out there more and more and more till I got comfortable with it. And then I started doing webinars and all of that stuff. But don't let that fear stop you from not even trying. And I think this is where a lot of people say, no, you need to do this, you need to be on video, you absolutely need to do this. And having that kind of message, I feel inculcates a lot more fear and stops people from really starting anything at all. So you don't have to do something if you're not comfortable with it. And I think that's okay. People are different. Some people are able to kind of take that fear, run with it, and put themselves out there. Some people need a little bit more time to kind of analyze and sit with it for a while before putting themselves out there. I think it's important to recognize what type of person you are so that you don't burn out. So I'm the second kind. I need to sit with that fear for some time. I need to see how people are doing it. I need to see what is right for me, for my style before getting out there. Like I'm not the early adopter. I'm not someone who is, all right, I'm going to try this today and then tomorrow I have it out there. Yes, minimum viable is important, but when it comes to things that I'm scared, I want to sit with it for a little bit of time before putting it out there. So yeah, which is why I like to stick with my zone of genius. And like going back to what we were speaking about, like creating digital products was within my zone of genius, which is why I started doing that rather than do a lot of client work. And it's important to know yourself well and what you want for your business and how you see that working with your life, and then pick strategies. Just because something is out there and someone is saying that this is the thing you should be doing does not mean that it's going to work for you. Yeah.
Oh, amen.
Yeah.
What I talk about all the time with my clients, and it's okay. You have permission to
Yeah.
not do something that doesn't feel good for you. Because here's the thing:
Yeah.
if you do it, you just have friction in your business, and you're not going to be successful because you're just going to keep like that energy comes through in everything that you do. Like,
oh, and which is why I think it's so important to work with people or buy from people that whose values are kind of aligned with you, you know, and you see how they are running their business, and you feel like, yeah, this kind of jives with me.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. And sometimes we buy from people, or we get mentored from people that we maybe don't really buy into, but we feel that, okay, I think I should be doing this because she's big and all of that stuff. But yeah, it doesn't have to be that way. I think you're going to feel like you wasted a lot of money than just going with someone whose value system you kind of jive with.
And we don't have to be everything for everyone, right? Like, it was really interesting to me to sit back and look at the personality types of all of my best clients. Like, I am actually the coach for introverts, right? Like, all of my clients are introverts who are like aligned from a personality perspective, but they're kind of on the introverted side of my personality. And it's just so interesting, because I would have thought I would be attracting like the people like me who are, you know, go-getters, or who are, you know, but there's who knows, there's something in me that I had to discover as well, that maybe I do have that kind of introvert's heart, right? And that I don't need to adopt that like crazy out there persona all the time. But, you know, like, being aware of these things is really critical to building the business that's really right for you, right?
Absolutely.
We're at time, and I loved having this conversation. I'm so happy to hear so much of what you're saying, because it's so aligned with, I think, where we need to, this next generation, right, of internet business, and like calming down a little bit, and like losing the whole boss babe thing, and, you know, all of that. Can you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm at meerakothand.com. I think the best way to find me would be to go check out my books on Amazon, and you can check out the 1 Hour Content Plan. That was the very first book that I launched, and a lot of people find me from that book. Or if email is kind of what is in your radar, I would say I have a free email course. That's another place to find me. It's Email List for Newbies. It's something that a lot of people find me for as well on Pinterest. So it's meera.email/course.
Awesome. Okay, we'll put all the links inside of the show notes, and links to your books and all of that, so people can find you. But I totally appreciate you sharing all of those resources with us. And I think a lot of people in my audience are going to be really interested to hear a lot more from you. And I know I've been reading your stuff for a long time, and you've got some really great content. Thank you so much. We're going to wrap up the episode. It was such a great conversation. Make sure and go and check out Meera and all of her incredible offers. And finally, I would love for you to join us for our next episode, where we're going to be speaking to Shannon Johnson. Shannon is a health and wealth coach, natural health guru, and a coffee CEO. If you like all things health and coffee and naturopathic everything, be sure to join us on our next episode. Shannon is a real go-getter and super fun to listen to. Thank you again for being here. If you've enjoyed today's content, I would love for you to give us a review on whatever platform you're on. This helps us share our stories with an even bigger audience. Till next time, keep building, keep dreaming, and keep being real.